joining in again. So we were tuning in to the most important part of this conversation, and that is the good girl syndrome, and then the attached inner child issues. So Pia, please.
So I'm not sure where we got to, but so what I can say is that the piece that this role from codependency. Hello
Hey
from
there.
home. Wonderful.
Hi.
This piece around the
Hey there.
role, the
Mm-hmm.
family role
Mm-hmm.
that I speak about, that I've chosen to work with, which is the good girl.
Right.
The reason why I actually like to work with so-called good girls, inverted commas, is that I'm actually a recovering good girl myself. This was the role that I took on in my family. And B, over the years, and it's really been more in retrospect when I think back to all the various clients that I worked with, when it comes to women, inevitably they come up in some shape or form as a good girl and function as a good girl. And it's not it's not really who you are, because what happens with a good girl is that you are always looking outside of yourself to get cues on how to be. And that is because as a child, when we realized that there was instability in the family, there was pain, unhealed trauma, whatever in the family, as a little child, all we want is for our parents to be okay. And so we take on the roles that we think is going to help create balance and equilibrium in the family. And so the good girls see that I'm going to be a pleaser. I'm going to just be really good. And this, of course, is the same for little good boys. Little good boys do the same. We want to be absolutely perfect. We're going to follow the rules. We are going to do whatever we're told. We're not going to rock the boat in any way, because we fear that if we are not perfect, if we are not just super helpful and pleasing in every way, something disastrous is going to happen in the family, because we sense that underneath the surface, the family system is very tentative. It's not very grounded. And so when we then grow up, which I would imagine most of our listeners here are adults, this particular role that we've taken on has very much an impact on our ability to feel happy, on our ability to feel grounded in who we are. And so when you're, like I said, when you're a good girl or a good boy, you're very much a rule follower. Now that's quite there is no room for flexibility, right? We're so afraid that if we're not good, if we don't follow the rules, something awful is going to happen. Now, one of the things that's a problem with a good girl is that one of the first things that happens is we lose our boundaries. Good girls don't tend to know what their needs are, because we're always looking outside to see what does everybody else need. So a good girl will also then, and this is now also, I call it good girl, but it's in adult form, we will always put others ahead of ourselves. And in fact, we will feel bad when we put ourselves first, or when we put our needs first. And as a result, we often don't even realize what our needs are, because we're overly focused on the needs of others. So I'm just going to stop there for a second, because I know I can talk about this till the cows come home, but I want to take a breather and maybe give you a chance to ask me another question.
No, I feel that, because it's like, you know what? We are always looking outside. That is what I have seen in my transformation earlier. I'd always look at other people, if I had pleased them or not, if they are happy with me or not. If not, I'll try to change my behavior. So I wasn't playing my authentic self, and it was so frustrating. So the spiritual depression starts from there, I think, or even,
Absolutely.
So it's a very bad place to be in. So Pia, because we are here bringing in more information about your work too. So let us in to your one-on-one, your group coaching, as well as your circle.
Okay, let me start with the one-on-one, because I mean this also goes into group, but let me just look at from a one-on-one perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I talk about your inner compass. And what I mean by that is, like I said, the good girls, and that was also your experience and mine, is that we're constantly outside of ourselves. This is not our home. We are not at home inside here. So in fact, it's a very dead place in a way. That's my experience both with myself in the past and also with clients, is that there's a feeling of emptiness. So the process that I take clients through is for them to reconnect with their inner compass. And that means you have to go inside. You have to start getting to know yourself from a perspective, well, who am I when I'm not pleasing everybody else? Who am I when I'm not taking care of everybody else outside of myself?
Sure.
And inside of that, what do I need? What is it that I need? And that can be quite a big process in itself. And then at the same time, you've got to start creating boundaries. Because a good girl generally does not have boundaries.
No
Because of
boundaries.
course it's like, because you're pleasing everybody else. So you really allow people to often take advantage of you. And I'm not saying that is somebody who's an unkind person, but it's just we're easy targets from being taken advantage of, because we don't say stop or we don't say no, because we haven't found our no yet. So part of the process is also to really get a real no. Getting those boundaries in place helps you to communicate with the outside world how you would like to be treated, what's okay for you and what isn't. I also include embodiment practices in my work, because there's so much wisdom in the body that the brain could never come up with. So I include also the body as a more subtle way to communicate, for the insides to communicate with you on the outside. I mean, there's other ways as well, but just the two pieces around needs and boundaries is quite a journey. It can feel very scary, because of course somebody who's been a pleaser all their life are super scared. The one that starts saying, actually what I need, or no, they're afraid then that, oh my God, I'm either going to be shamed, or I'm going to be rejected and abandoned, and love will be taken away. So it's, of course, that's very scary for anybody. So just those two pieces around needs and boundaries can often take quite a long time. And taking those baby steps, to having a lot of courage to move into those areas that for most good girls and good boys, they've never had experiences with placing their boundaries or asking for what they need, because they don't believe that their needs are valid. So inside of that, we've got to work on trust issues, because of course the only thing that's ever been trusted piece of information is everything that's happening outside. So we've got to then start building our inner trust. So the inner compass is really giving us the direction of we've got to start from the inside and working, and from there communicate to the outside world.
Right.
So this is quite a journey, but also a really beautiful one, because what the women that I've worked with over the years find is there's this enormous freedom at the end of the journey, where oh my goodness, I can actually speak my truth. I don't have to censor what I want to say out of fear that I'm going to be abandoned because I'm not pleasing the person I'm speaking to. So finding your voice is another part of the process. So it's very beautiful, because what I've experienced as well is that there's such a blossoming that happens. And the impact of claiming yourself back, of course, the impact goes it's in the workplace, it's in your relationships, right? It's with your children, your spouse, people that your family members. It has a huge, huge impact on the sense of freedom and, of course, ultimately self-love.
Yeah.
Now, I bring this into group work, and the group work I've done a great deal of leadership work, and a part of the leadership work that I love. I mean, I work in the corporate world as well, but I also talk about leadership presence. And leadership presence is really that piece, again, about your inner compass of taking your information from the inside. And a lot of people, when they hear leadership, they think, oh, you're a leader in an organization. I talk about how you lead yourself. And that's the kind of leadership that I'm interested in. And being a leader of yourself is really getting clear about this inner relationship with yourself. But also inside of leadership work, inside of group work, I, for example, I'm a facilitator of a process called Path of Love, an awakening of love. And the Path of Love is a 7-day intensive that's run all over the world, from Australia to the Americas and everywhere in between. And this is really, one of my mentors, he calls it a school of intimacy, because it really is a journey of intimacy. It's really getting intimate with yourself, and it's almost like you're put inside a washing machine, and really the process is to wash away everything that's not true, everything that isn't you. And part of that is to then expose all those things that hold you back from being able to show up fully, hold you back from being able to express yourself with love, with compassion, and without judgment. Because of course there's so much judgment inside of, as we spoke earlier, about not being perfect or not being 100% happy all the time. So this is a very, very deep process, and a very beautiful one. And then there was a final third thing you asked about.
The circle.
It was my circle, yeah. So
your group,
in fact, I've just come off a Zoom call now with my women's circles for many years, and we are human beings are hardwired for connection, and especially women. We gather, we thrive in communities, we thrive in sisterhood. And often it's in our busy life these days, it's perhaps not as easy for us to gather in the same ways as we might have done hundreds of years ago, when we literally sat in a circle around a fireplace. And so I've been leading circles where women come together for the sheer purpose of creating a trusted sisterhood where we can be ourselves.
Right.
And so for example, circles that I've been leading over years, we meet once a week. One example is we meet once a week, and every week we have a new topic, and a deep topic. So we really have to go inside. And because we're meeting every week, there's a beautiful sense of trust that develops, a beautiful sense of sisterhood, so that if something difficult is arising in me, it's still, I feel safe that I can share that with them and be held in that and be accepted in that. So the way that we meet once a week, 1 hour, and we start with a guided meditation, just so we can all really land in the space. And then one by one, we share on the topic for the week. And the rest of the women that aren't sharing, we are simply holding space. And it's not a place of coaching or therapy or advice giving. It's just allowing the woman who's sharing to feel fully seen, fully heard. And this is actually another big piece that most of us weren't really seen as who we were as children. So
True.
for many of us, we have that as a wound.
Right.
And often we will do whatever we can to, I want to be seen, and we
Yeah.
do all sorts of
Attention.
things so that we can
Yes.
get attention. And so
Attention.
what the
Yep.
circle does is it offers that every week. Each woman get her skin that I am being seen. I'm being heard for who I am. And it's just that part alone is very healing.